This is everything that we have to ship into Amazon for this week. We already talked about how we bought most of it, which mostly was online, but I'm gonna try to do my fastest shipment ever. And that way we can actually discuss how much money you can make on an hourly basis doing this business model, especially if you've been doing it for a while, and learn a couple of tricks. It's 11:43 right now. My goal is gonna be to be packed up, ready to be taken to UPS. Actually, no, we're gonna take it to UPS by 2:30, so 2.5 hours. Let's get all this stuff together, and I'll tell you what we'll need, and then we'll get our shipment done. I don't know if I can do this. This is my big old box of reselling stuff, which, just like everything else in my life right now, is very disorganized. Bunch of different sizes of poly bags. We'll probably only need one size because I think I just have some socks. And then I stuck tape labels because no, I still don't have a label printer yet. Tape measure for measuring. Scotty peeler for helping to get the labels off. Glue gun to get any residue off of anything. A box cutter. And then a hairdryer heats up all of the glue on the stickers so that you can take them off easier before using the glue gun. You probably need a towel with the glue gun too. So we're pretty much gonna have half of this table because Chris is using it. I might be able to clear off some of my work stuff over here. Then using this couch. Someone commented that I should really have a separate boxing area for my eBay and Amazon stuff from the rest of my house, and I agree. But 700 square feet isn't too much, and when you're moving into a van, you can't really hope to change that much in the future either. Some coffee for ×2 speed, but the first thing that we're gonna do is organize everything up. We bought a lot of it online as replenishments from stuff that I normally would buy in stores. Then we also got a decent bit of stuff at Ross's while I was doing some extra returns for my eBay business. That said, it's not a ton of stuff, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem, but we'll organize it all up, and we're actually just gonna do one buy list in Scoutify 2 before we send everything into InventoryLab, but we'll still break it up by the store, and I'll show you how to do that. And I can also show you how to import an active buy list into InventoryLab rather than having to send it to your email. So one thing interesting about these tackle boxes, which is one of the ways that I think about sending inventory in Amazon, is that you can see that on the top of this, it has that little tab here, which is normally just, well, not anymore, and that's what I was gonna talk about. This one didn't have the tab there, but it does have a little bit of that straggly there. Honestly, I don't think that that's that big of a deal. I've spent a lot of time in the past, like ripping those off really meticulously, or just leaving them on, which is fine like this. But a couple reasons why I think that's okay is, first off, it's just the outside of the tackle box. It's really thin plastic. It's not really gonna hurt you if you run your fingers over it. And it's fishing gear. I'm a fisher person, and I know how fisher people think. If you get like a tackle box and it doesn't have a little bit of a tab on the top, no one's gonna care. It's not like a beauty product. It's not something like that. And so knowing what you're selling can give you a little bit better expectations for exactly how meticulously you need to package it. That's why I'm not gonna worry about it. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't, but you need to decide that for yourself. Also, while I was doing some returns, I decided to check like the baby section for socks because I didn't know if they would have any like Under Armour stuff. They had some really cute Stance baby socks that I was able to pick up for multiple 100% returns. So maybe check those out too. I mean, just look at these guys. Just checking quantities against the packing slip to make sure that they sent me the right amount. So we got everything laid out. Just under 2.5 hours left to go. I don't think this will honestly take too long because I only have to take stickers off of all the raw stuff, which is not a lot. But I want to share two things that I think could be really beneficial to you in your business. First off is in regards to these. These are some bobbers that I just bought offline because I had bought them before in the store. Made probably 100%, maybe a little bit more return on investment. So I wanted to see if they had them online. Now those come in a bunch of different sizes, and when I went online, that size was the only one that was available. But if you do this kind of method, if you look at this, these are all the sizes. So if I just click into one of them, which is not the one that I got, you can see it's not available. But you can hit this get notified, and then you just put in your email address, and they'll notify me when this is back in stock. And then when they email you, who knows how long it'll be in stock, but you can just go on there, obviously double check and make sure it's still a profitable item on Amazon, but you'll be able to just buy it out or buy a lot of them if you want. The second thing that I found out, I'm not sure on, and I'll just leave this where it be. But this packing slip says that it's an invoice. I'm just gonna leave that there. All right, 12:06 now. We're gonna go ahead and put everything into a buy list on Scoutify 2. Really simply, Scoutify 2 is just an app that works with InventoryLab. It's made by the same company. So if we just go into Scoutify 2 here, down here, this is your buy list tab. You just hit add buy list. July mini is what it's gonna say because it's gonna be the mini shipment. And then when you scan an item, you just hit add down here. And then here, you just put the cost, the number that you have, the list price, when you bought it and where you bought it. I don't really care about when you bought it, but I do care about where I bought it and the taxes. And those default to 6.5%, which is my default tax right here. So I'm gonna do that for all the Academy items first, and then I'll show you how they change within the same buy list to a different supplier. One other thing quickly that I'll show you is that before we add that, if we go over to the settings tab here, since all of those fishing items that I bought at Academy were at 20% online discount, you can just come down here to default discount and put 20% there. That way, since I know the normal price for those items, I don't have to calculate the discount price, but every time that I go and scan one and add it, it's gonna automatically be there, that 20% discount. Just don't forget to change that again when you go to other stores, because then you'll your price will be lower and your repricer will automatically reprice it lower. All right, all the Academy stuff has been put into our buy list here. Go back to settings and change first our discount back to 0. And then once we scan our next item, I guess we'll do Ross next. We just have to change the supplier from Academy to Ross. After we save this, every next item will default to Ross, and then we'll do the same thing for Walmart. And after that, I'll show you how to import it into InventoryLab without sending it in an email to yourself. And then we'll get all the labels printed out so we can start delabeling and relabeling. Hey, another quick lesson just to kind of drive my point home about sales rank. This sales rank is 1.1 million on these socks. I actually thought that I had made a bad buy because I thought that this was the same as these, but these are baby, these are toddler. Thing is though, when I go into Scout IQ and look at this Keep It chart down here, and I do have a link to Scout IQ and InventoryLab / Scoutify 2 down in the description. If you look at this, even though it's 1.1 million, it's still sold 9 days in the past 3 months. So just sending in one of these, especially since I bought it for $6.50 and it gets back $17, so $10 more, that's a win. Everything's been cataloged into my phone. I'm just gonna organize it by not needing any prep work over here, just needing to be delabeled, headphones and braces and stuff, versus needing to be delabeled and polybag. But the really cool thing about InventoryLab is that since they have Scoutify 2 as well, all we have to do is go up here to list and prep, and then it's gonna pull up nothing because we don't have any batches. So we go to add new batch. You guys have seen this page a couple times if you've been on my channel before. So we're just gonna hit the batch name as July Mini, and then we got two options. We can either select a file, which is what I've normally done, or select a buy list. And when we hit the drop down, it's July Mini. So now all we have to do is scroll down to process buy list, and boom, now it's already been updated. 22 SKUs. There's 22 SKUs here as well, so we know that that's the correct item. But all these issues down here are pretty much just one of two things: inventory that I just am replenishing rather than new stuff that I'm adding. This one is merged because I got some of these at Walmart and some of them in Academy. So merge duplicates, and now we have no issues. Just hit Amazon validation, and then it's gonna send the buy list to Amazon to see if there's any restrictions or any reason that you can't send any of these products in. No problems this time though. So we'll go to create batch down here, and then it's gonna process. I'm looking at the numbers at the bottom here. We did super well. We'll get to those at the end, and I'll explain on an hourly basis how much we made or how much we potentially will make, but I am stoked. Next up, all the way down here in the bottom left is a review batch icon. Go ahead and hit that, and then it's gonna pull up just the summary page. I don't care about that page. Submit, and now it's gonna ask for shipments from Amazon. It's gonna end up giving us one shipment. I think you guys are onto something. In one of my last videos, I said that I'm trying to send less small shipments because in the past, they've always split up all my small shipments, but you guys were like, hey bro, you're stupid. They don't do that. You guys are a little nicer than that. You're saying that essentially when you send in smaller shipments, they send them to less fulfillment centers. I honestly thought this was gonna get split up into 3 centers, but it's just one, which makes my life so easy. So we're gonna create that shipment, and now all we have to do is go to enter box contents on the InventoryLab side of things. If you had a thermal label printer, which is something that I'm looking at investing in, I'm gonna be reaching out to a couple companies to see if I can do a test between a couple of them, see if they even respond. But you actually have to go into Seller Central since I'm printing them out on these Avery labels, which are just 30 a sheet. Since I have 146 units, I'm gonna need 5 of these sheets. That is one of the things that I forgot to talk about too, is my laser printer is one of the items that I used in this process. Throw these in there. In Seller Central, you go to Inventory, Manage Shipments. And here we can see that we got all of our shipments. Some are receiving, some are closed. This one is working. That's the one that we just started in InventoryLab. Work on shipment, and then we go to Review Modify Units and scroll all the way down here, and then print labels for this page. Print them. We're gonna set these aside for 1 second while we delabel these and delabel and polybag these. It's really only fitting that we do all this on top of our fan that's gonna go on the top of our van. But these two things are gonna be your best friend. You can just pick up any heat source for like $10 or so on Amazon. This, you can get a pack of 3 of these for $5. Just go get these if you haven't yet. I held off on it for like 6 months, and now I feel like a big idiot for doing that because I wasted so much time and so many of my fingernails. I have links down in the description for the stuff that I use. Your nails will thank you. Just hold the heat over it and lay it down on something like this. Sometimes I'll tape it to the table to make my life easier. After it's had some heat, you can just get under it really easily with a Scotty peeler. It'll lift right off. There is still some residue left on there that we'll use the Goo Gone to get off, but that'll be the second step. Doing all of this first will help us to be a little bit more efficient. One other thing too that I've not seen anybody talk about, but I think is a really good way to prolong this and help you to not spend as much money, is the fact that these can go dull after like maybe 100, 150 items, and a lot of times that's just one shipment. And so you don't want to have to be replacing these every shipment because that's another $1.50 that you're spending. And here's what I mean. If you see this, as I try to get under it, see how it just slips over top of that sticker? Really, really easy way to fix this is to get a little bit of sandpaper. Put the sandpaper on a flat surface, take the bottom of this, and just rub it along it. And that'll get rid of the burrs that are on the bottom there. That'll make this a much flatter surface down here. You can also do it on the sides here on the edges. I would have gone through all 3 of my Scotty peelers already, but instead I'm still on my first one because I just keep sanding it down. And now as I try to get under there, it catches so much easier. That has prolonged the life of my Scotty peelers by a ton. Alright, so now that we got all of the stickers off, the next step is going to be to go ahead and take all the residue off of the packages. You can throw glue gun straight on the items, but a lot of times I find it better to just put it on towels. You're not getting your stuff overly oily or overly messy. You just put on how much you need. And I like to put it on all the items and then let it sit and then take it off. Sometimes you don't actually need it, especially since you're going to be labeling your items. All of the residue is just right where the label is. All you got to do is stick a label over it, so you don't have to worry about that. And sometimes, like on this one, it comes off and there is no residue, so that's perfect. All right, hasn't been that long. Just going to come back here and try to rub off as much as I can to dry it out. Sometimes there will still be a little bit of like discoloration on the packaging, but it's really not that big of a deal. I've never had any complaints about it. Awesome, these guys are done, ready to be labeled like all the rest of the Academy and Walmart stuff. These four we're gonna need to throw in poly bags, and you can either do that before or after you label them. You just need to make sure that the label is readable outside of the bag. Today, I'm actually gonna throw the label on these guys first, so I'm gonna find those. A bunch of different sizes of poly bags. Kind of simply just wanna find the one that'll fit around it best without leaving a lot of room on the side. I do have the poly bags that I recommend in the description as well. I should really organize this thing. The other way that I really like to do it, especially on things like this, if I throw the poly bag in this way, widthwise, then I can just double over it. Just make sure that your label is on the opposite side as the warning label. That way, it's a really nice and tidy bag, and it's already labeled. The great thing about these multi-packs is that since most dimensions on packaging is standardized in some capacity, you'll normally be able to fit it in either widthwise or longwise and get a pretty tight fit without a lot of moving around. In at least one of the sizes, and so even these bigger ones have the same really tight fit. I was gonna have to move it anyways. So now all four of these are poly bagged really nice presentation when it gets to the customer. Now all that's gonna be left to do, label everything else up and find the right boxes to pack it in. Luckily, since we bought a lot of this stuff online, it already came in a box. Plus, it's 12:56, so we still have an hour and a half until we need to be over at UPS. So I actually think I'm gonna be able to do this. I think this is the first time I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm not gonna say it. You are gonna have to use multiple boxes because everything's not gonna fit inside of one box because the longest dimension can be 25 inches. You're gonna have to tell InventoryLab or Amazon if you're not using InventoryLab which box everything is going in. So I'm gonna throw as much as I can in this first box here. I think it's pretty much just gonna be some of the tackle boxes, and everything else will fit in a second box. So as long as I just remember what's in one box and just put it into InventoryLab as I go, it'll make my life easier. Labeling is honestly a really simple process, but I do have one tip that I think can help a lot. It's definitely saved me a lot of time. If I have a lot of the same item and I'm gonna be labeling them back to back to back, I'll just do this with a row of labels, because that way you're just doing the same movement over and over again, because by doing that, you can just grab it really easily, take it off, and stick it onto something. Whereas otherwise, you'd have to get the label up, peel it, and stick it. It might not be faster for you, but I've definitely found it helps for me. Got all labeled up. There is one last thing to do, is that you can only have one scannable barcode on any of your items. So for instance, these, they have a barcode back here, but they also have a serial number barcode. So I'm just gonna put a label, a white label, cut a little bit of it out. Luckily, the width of these labels is exactly the width of that. So I can just cut a couple pieces here. 2-piece. Beautiful. Now I just gotta make sure that I can throw this all in one box, tape it up, then print the shipping labels. Only 1:31, so we had a really good time right now. Only an hour and a half into the shipment, which is by far the fastest I've been. Whew. All right, everything is boxed up. I put the box dimensions into InventoryLab. Now I just submit it, and then it's gonna send all that information over into Amazon, and then we'll just go straight back into the managed shipments, and it'll already have everything pre-populated, labeled up. Now all we have to do, in Seller Central, hit complete shipment. It's only 1:56, and let's head over to UPS. And I think we'll be within our goal. I do have to drop some stuff off at the post office and at FedEx for a couple other purposes, but I think we're gonna do it. 2:17, and we made it. Honestly, can't believe it's like 2 hours and we got a shipment done, especially after I tell you guys how much profit or potential profit there is in these boxes. Let me drop this off and we'll run some other errands and talk to the numbers. So we got everything dropped off. Let's talk first about sourcing, because that's the first part of your Amazon shipment. We spent 1.5 hours on my laptop at home doing sourcing for all that stuff from Academy, but we actually did already send in some Academy stuff, so it probably wasn't even that full 1.5 hours, but we're just gonna put it there. Then there was also an hour and a half at Ross's and at that Walmart, but that was all mixed in with other stuff. I did a lot of returns at Ross's, which I would have had to do either ways. Also at Walmart, that's right after I went to the gym, we need to buy groceries. That's also when I did eBay runs, because there's a Ross that's about 3 minutes away from eBay. So even including driving and everything, if we're just talking about the sourcing that we did, it was probably about an hour and a half. So a total of 3 hours. But speaking of shipping stuff for eBay, let's drop this guy off. But one other thing that I forgot to mention in terms of hours is obviously the hours that we worked on this is just another 2.5 hours that we'll add in at the end. Plus, if we really wanted to go like all in, how many total hours will it take for everything to sell, including all the back end work like repricing? We'll just add another 2 hours at the very end, just kind of get the most conservative estimate of an hourly rate that I'd be making on the shipment. So here are the shipment details. We got 21 total SKUs for 146 total items. We spent a total of $685, and our total sales value is $2,409. Now that's what, if everything was to sell for the price that I have it currently listed at, it'll sell for. I have some things that I know can get repriced higher because I've sold them higher over the past couple of weeks. And I just kind of put them at the normal price because my repricer is going to do that work for me. $811.70 is the potential profit on all of that. Oh, I actually forgot to calculate the return on investment. $811.70 divided by $685.64 is 1.183, which means 118.38%, which is pretty freaking good. And that profit is after all the fees. So that's paying off my inventory and paying Amazon all of their fees and even shipping it into Amazon. That's calculated into that. It is really hot in Florida, so I feel a little stupid for sitting on the ground, but I'm already here. So we have a total of $811.70 divided by 5.5 hours, which is the 3 hours from sourcing plus the 2.5 hours that it took us to ship it. And that gives us $147.58 per hour, which is a pretty good hourly rate. If you were to do that 40 hours a week over the whole year, it'd be about $300,000 per year. Obviously, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to make enough so that I can build my YouTube channel and other businesses and enjoy life. But even if we were to be the most conservative and include repricing time and add back in that 2 hours, it would still be over $100 an hour, $108.23 per hour. And so that's pretty much the most accurate I can get on how much I would make in a shipment. Obviously, if it gets repriced down, that'll change a little bit. But in terms of estimating my hourly rate, that's way better than just taking my sourcing rate. Even though that's true, there's still all that back end work of shipping it into Amazon and then doing all of the repricing. It doesn't happen always like that, but that's pretty good. If you want to watch a video on how to learn InventoryLabs, that whole system, watch this. If you want to learn about my repricer, watch here. But the most important video that I've put out so far that's helped me to quit my job is learning about the numbers. So watch that right here. Peace.